I'd like to call this meeting to order. And David, you're next on the agenda?
Good, I was being confused.
Ooh, thanks. Welcome everyone. It's been a couple of months since I think we've been together with the majority of this committee. I want to make sure before we get started that everybody has a copy of the latest iteration of the budget. In the lower left-hand corner on each page should say BOS for Board of Selectmen recommended March 28th, 2022. If you don't have that copy, we have extra paper copies out here, and it's available online on the town's website. Come to the town office, pick one up, whatever you need to do. With that, I guess I'll just say welcome. Thanks for having me again, putting up with me for another portion of your evening and your lives. I don't usually start a book reading the last chapter, but after the Board of Selectmen spent a fair amount of time since the middle of February reviewing the budget and making some amendments and changes, I'm going to start with the last chapter, and then we'll go back and start with the rest of the story. So the bottom line on page 26, for net to be raised for those of you that aren't into the municipal lingo means taxes. That's the only way you do taxes. People choose to raise them. The Board of Selectmen's recommended budget for fiscal year 23, again this is a municipal budget, is $891,195, which is up $4,840 from last year's $886,335. So that's the last chapter of the book, but we'll go back and go through all the others as we go. But it's always, this book has what I think the selectmen would call a happy ending, so I thought we'd start there and work our way from back to front. So if everybody has their budget, I guess I'd open it up, since it is your meeting, and ask if you want me to go page by page and line by line, or you want to talk about the changes that the board made since they met with you folks in February. I know some of you have been to some meetings, some have been to all meetings, some haven't been to any meetings, so I'll talk you to death if you want me to. Your preference.
I'm more interested in the changes.
I second that.
So what with that, unless there's some objection, what I will do is start with at the beginning. It's a good place to start now that we've read the final chapter. And then I'll highlight the changes. Certainly I want to say, if I go too fast and you have a question, scream and holler, raise your hand, whatever you need to do to get our attention so that I'll stop talking and you can ask your question. And if I forget at the end to say if you have questions after you go home tonight and get more chance to digest, or see somebody on the street that asks you a question, and if you don't know the answer, that's what we're here for. So with that, let's jump right in and start with, I'm going to skip over the introduction and all that other stuff and just start right on page 4, which is administration and finance. And I'll say that the Board of Selectmen, you can see we've now, this is a change from what you've seen before. The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th column from the right says Selectmen Recom at the top. That's the Selectmen's recommendations. I will say that when the board was all said and done on Monday night making their recommendations, while I don't think anyone got 100% of what they wanted or what they thought it would be, the budget recommendations were unanimous in what they're recommending onto the townspeople. So the selectmen for administration and finance recommending just exactly what you heard back here in the middle of February for requests. So I don't have any changes to highlight there. Does anybody have any questions on administration and finance? Awkward pause, and then I'll flip 2 pages to page 6.
Wait a second, sorry.
Yeah, no, that's
Okay, I
fine.
just don't understand something. So
Sure.
on page 4,
Yeah,
Well, we can just pick any line. So you're gonna clear this up very fast for me.
Okay,
Well, let's go to the top line, wages.
yep,
Okay, so it says, FY 2022 request 337915.
yep, there's a big typo right there that you just picked out, John.
Oh,
First thing is, that should say FY '23 request.
okay, FY 23.
How many times have we looked at this and missed that one? Yeah, so FY '23, that is the request made either by a department head, committee chair, outside agency, what somebody thought they wanted to have from the town of Lincolnville for the upcoming fiscal year.
Okay, and then the next column says percent change, so I guess that's up.
So that is percent change, that is the difference between what was requested and what was approved in fiscal year '22 by the voters.
Okay, and then the selectmen recommend the same amount, 337915. And so the BOS percent change is relative to the previous year.
It's
Still-
relative to what the voters approved for
Approved.
'22.
Gotcha. Okay, that clears it up. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any others? All right, on page 6 is animal control. I can explain animal control for anybody that wants it, but the selectmen are recommending the same amount of money as what was requested. And believe it or not, when we get a few pages in, that won't always be the case, but. All right, I'm gonna turn the page to page 7. I'm not gonna spend any time there because there's no requests on that page, so zeros are pretty easy to do, I think. Page 8 is protection fire department. There is an addition to this that you did not see when the fire chief was in. That's the next to the last line in the, what I'll call the top portion. The security system, there's a monitoring and testing and inspection cost of $1,100. So that's actually an addition to what was seen previously. Everything else, I believe, remained the same in that.
Is that an annual
Request.
or one-time?
That will be an annual. We're in the process of installing an alarm system in the building, and it'll be monitored 24/7, and then the recommendation is that you have somebody come test the system on an annual basis, similar to what we do here at the town office.
In the previous year or two, I would hear discussions now and then about firefighters' wages, and that should be raised. Is that raised in the request?
The request for wages is up slightly, John, but it's based on the same percentage increase that the other employees are scheduled for.
Okay,
And we have not changed, with the exception of the actual firefighter wages are still in there at $15 an hour for the first hour of every call.
okay. Was there some people wanting to go higher than that? I can't remember if it was how they were doing it.
I'm not picking on the firefighters because they don't hear. Nobody's going to turn down a raise, I don't
Right.
believe. But there was not one requested for this year, so
Okay.
if you're not going to request one, you may not get one.
Okay,
On the last item,
Yep,
was not requested by the fire department, but has been added.
correct. The firefighter accident insurance coverage was the suggestion of a member of the Board of Selectmen. The Board of Selectmen charged our Wage and Personnel Policy Board with looking to see what might be out there and available. It started off with a coverage seeking basically life insurance coverage. The town received a couple of different proposals, and the Board of Selectmen have recommended coverage that has not only life insurance, but there's some for dismemberment or some other coverages beyond that. So, and that would be in addition to anything that might come with workers' compensation insurance. Any other questions on fire department? All right, flip 2 more pages and go to page 10. Protection other, there's one change on this page. We have received our pricing for ambulance service for the coming year. It's down from what was requested, but it's up from where it was, certainly up from where it was last year. And if you've been in tune with the newspaper lately, every municipality, pretty much statewide, is struggling with ambulance service and coverage and costs, and so are we. Now, there's no other changes on that page. Anybody have any questions before we flip?
Yeah, so the ambulance service,
Mm-hmm.
so the 2023 request was 71,840. The selectmen recommended less,
Yep,
69,436.
yep. The initial,
How do you do that? What do you say when the 70th person calls an ambulance, don't go?
you don't get.
How
No,
do you do
that, fortunately or unfortunately, the 71,840 was in essence, a placeholder that I put in there, John. We were in discussions with the company that provides our ambulance service.
Yeah.
We didn't have a number.
Okay.
I knew it would be substantially higher than it had been.
Yep.
Put a placeholder in, and we finally got the number from them, and fortunately, it was lower than the estimate I stuck in there,
Okay.
and we're running with a lower number.
Good.
All right, turning the page to page 11, there is a reduction in the equipment purchases line. We had asked for consideration for a new desk for the Public Facilities Director and a couple of office chairs, and the Board of Selectmen said either make do with what you have or go get it out of this year's budget, because we've been fortunate to save a little bit of money this year on some other expenses. So we're not gonna have the Public Facilities Director sitting on the floor without a desk, but we're not budgeting it for the coming year. We're buying it out of existing monies.
Could you tell me which line that was?
Equipment purchases,
Equipment purchases.
Yeah.
thanks.
changed from 2,600 down to 600. Any other questions about town office building? On to page 12 for contingency. Selectmen are recommending what was requested at $10,000. Turning the page over to code enforcement, the board has recommended what was requested. Same with assessing on the next page. Which takes me to page 15, which the selectmen are recommending the same as what was requested for public works, highways, and bridges. Moving kind of quickly, thinking someone's gonna yell out if there's a question. Page 16 is Public Works Transfer Station. We don't have we have a lot of say in that via the Board of Directors and our representatives there, but once they set the budget, it's an assessment to us, so we either pay the fee or we get kicked out, and then we pay the fee, so we're gonna pay the fee.
Yeah, I guess it's good we didn't go for that facility up in Hampton, right? They disappeared a long time ago, right?
That has been defunct for a number of years, and
Yeah.
is trying to find somebody else to come in and operate it or buy it, and my understanding, yes, my opinion, it was a good choice that we didn't go there.
Yeah, well.
And there is a potential that the municipalities may end up owning that facility and then trying to operate it, which I'm very pleased that we're not involved in that. Page 17, Public Works Harbor. There is an addition to this page from what was requested. The very last line in the top section, this is the summary. The Board of Selectmen have decided that they would like to put a trash receptacle down at the pier and get that picked up. basically, in essence, a dumpster there. We had one there a long time ago, which had some use or abuse and then ultimately got taken away, relocated, and we're going to try again. That's the plan.
So what's happening with the boat ramp? There was some idea to eventually make that nicer.
It's still in the, we're trying stage to get
Okay.
going.
Still on the books and will be considered.
Still there.
All
Yep.
right.
So it didn't work before, but we're gonna try it again. Is there something we're doing different to make it so it's more likely to be successful?
Well, what we were doing in the interim wasn't very successful either, because people would leave their trash all over the pier, and then it would blow in the water, and then we'd have to fish it out of the water and then get rid of it.
Okay.
So it's,
So the unsuccessful part was people were using it as their own personal trash disposal, I'm assuming.
yeah, or it was just a headache. Unmonitored dumpsters tend to be, I think we'll have a little better, we hope to have a little better control in terms of accessibility to it. So that if you have a coffee cup, you can get it in there. If you've got a 55-gallon contractor bag, it will be more challenging. Not to say people don't do it, but it'll be more challenging.
There's a will, Dave.
Just gonna spend a little more time, that's all.
Yeah. Unfortunately, there is no perfect solution to the human condition with, oh, I've got this waste I'm gonna get rid of. And 98% of people do the right thing. If we could get the other 2% to do it, life would be a whole lot better. But other questions about Public Works Harbor? Next page, which is page 18, is Public Works Other. There are two changes here, which really, it's more than two, but I'm going to start with two. One is Breezemere Park Maintenance. The selectmen have reduced what they recommend from $7,750 to $3,250. A little breakdown down below. There was a trash receptacle that was a carry from last year, a mistake on our part, of $1,500 that shouldn't have been in there. And then the Board of Selectmen have chosen not to put money in for brown tail moth mitigation or tree replacement. And then
Could I ask a question?
Sure.
Brown tail moth tree replacement? Is that what you said?
Yep, if you look about, a third the way down the page,
Yeah.
you see Breezemere Park Maintenance. And-
Oh,
And then
brown tail moth.
then there's a little
and
breakdown.
Breezemere. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Sorry.
No, don't have to apologize for a question. The other change on this page is under athletic fields. And that was, Recreation Commission had budgeted or made a request of $2,200 for materials for the refurbishment of the Green Monster. They were successful in getting area business to donate the materials and therefore revised their request from $2,200 to $0. And then we've added in $4,000 for some ball field fence maintenance. The fences are, Mother Nature and the frost is taking its toll, and periodically we have to reset those. So there's money carried in there to do that.
Where in Public Works is the Public Works Director?
The Public Facilities Director is under Administration and Finance. Which is on page 4.
Yeah, just
Any other on Public Works? Other?
Solar array, runs, there's no money there.
Yeah, there is.
Okay, what don't I see?
I don't know.
It's,
Oh, yeah, in the
Oh,
top quarter.
Oh, I see, okay.
The top portion of this, John, is the kind of the summary. The bottom is kind of the little detail that goes with it.
Okay, yep,
It's, there's a charge in order to manage our renewable energy credits or certificates, and then the bronze level plan that was, well, you know, it was recommended by the Solar Array Purchase Committee.
Yeah.
Anyone? Okay, I'm gonna turn the page to page 19 where we have a couple more changes. Excuse me. Two changes here. The first is the broadband committee had recommended $7,500 or requested $7,500. The selectmen zeroed that out. Broadband committee has $5,000 available to it in the current year that is unexpended. The Board of Selectmen decided that without a plan as to how to spend $5,000 more, they weren't necessarily supportive of that concept. And then the budget, broadband committee had also recommended $2,500 for a digital inclusion and equity plan. And the Board of Selectmen voted this past week. They took that money out of this budget and voted to expend $2,500 from the American Rescue Plan Act money that Waldo County gave us, started off giving us for broadband, and then they said, no, you can expend it on anything that's eligible, so it's broadband.
So we're replacing it with that money?
We're backfilling that $2,500 request with $2,500
From the, sorry.
Waldo County
It's not working, yeah,
American Rescue Plan Act
right.
funds.
Before we leave that page,
Yeah.
the Comprehensive Plan Review Committee.
Yep.
So I was home watching YouTube at one of the BOS meetings, and Susan Silverio came in and talked, and I thought I heard she was looking for 80,000 or 100,000 for a
Yeah.
consultant. Did that get chopped out for now, or what?
Yep, the very next page, John, has an explanation from the Comprehensive Plan Review Committee, what they wanted, which was in essence 2 years appropriations in round figures of roughly $50,000 a year for 2 years in order to assist them in completing the review of the plan and getting a new plan ready. The Board of Selectmen didn't think the time was appropriate and the issue was ripe to fund consultants. They did carry $10,000 for the Community Heart and Soul, I believe is what it's called, process, which is really an effort to engage the citizenry in a visioning session, or sessions, I should say, to make sure that, you know, everybody's gonna be heading in the same direction, but kind of try to flesh out some of the bigger issues. And the selectmen have also asked to meet with the Comprehensive Plan Review Committee to help get a better timeline and work task, and you know, that an understanding of whether or not this could be a homegrown plan, or if they truly need, or we all need, assistance in getting that plan. And it may push off the end date some. We're not abandoning the effort. It's just how we get to the end and when we get to the end,
Okay.
subject to discussion and debate.
Well,
So-
I'm glad they did that.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, well, in the end, you know, I don't think anybody said it was necessarily a bad plan, but it wasn't mature and ready. And if we can do this incrementally, hopefully we'll end up with a better plan.
Yeah.
Any other questions on boards and committees?
So the purpose of the 10,000 though, that they're forecasting for this current year is for to save for the bigger plan? Or
No,
to use-
it's to start with the community heart and soul process. And they've offered, as I understand it, to basically match that money. So there'll be a $20,000 effort that'll cost the town 10 to get the better vision for the community about what it wants and where it wishes to go.
So
To help you form the basis for how that comprehensive plan looks forward, because I always say you have to know where you are before you know where you're going.
So who's the they that was gonna match it?
At the Community Heart and Soul Foundation, or
Oh, okay.
But it sounds like it's brainstorming and coming up with a plan, so I'm trying to figure out where the 10 grand funds are going to be spent.
it's gonna be spent on, in the end, probably a check written to Community Heart and Soul, which is an outside entity that provides you with facilitators and knowledgeable people to help gather community input.
Okay.
So it's the
there gonna
cost.
be public meetings?
Oh, yes.
Like in
Yep.
here or bigger space?
I think you'd probably be looking at something in the school
Uh-huh.
for these, for, you know, this room's great for 20 people, but after that, it's,
All right, this would be fun now.
Yeah.
That'd be a good thing.
yeah, it wasn't the Community Heart and Soul process, but there was a similar effort back 20 years ago, or 18, when they did the original comp plan.
Uh-huh.
I remember participating in some of them. We got, I don't know if it's the same process, but brainstormed, and then everybody got these stickers, and you gotta go around and put things, where you thought was most important to you about why you came to the community and why you're staying, and
Mhm.
so.
Okay.
But there is, again, on page 20, on the right-hand side of that, is really a little bit more about the guiding principles and the heart and soul effort. Never quite know when to change the page, so I'm changing the page to page 21, which is municipal support. And there are 3 changes that the Board of Selectmen made to this. The first 2 are the Historical Society and the Lincolnville Community Library. Both made requests. The Historical Society made a request for $5,000 and the Community Library for $3,000. In the end, the Board of Selectmen have chosen to recommend $1,500 for each of those entities or nonprofits. Yeah.
What's the third?
And the third change is the last line in that top section, which was main housing, which was a request for $10,000 that, once again, not to put words in the Board of Selectmen, but I don't think they thought the proposed work had been fleshed out adequately to justify asking the voters for $10,000. Anyone? Turning 2 pages then to provider agencies, which is page 23. Typically, the Budget Committee gets the first whack at these, and then your recommendations go to the Board of Selectmen. They thought since they were together, they would make their recommendations. They've done so. The only thing that's different than what was requested is the Selectmen recommended $1,000 for the Lifelight Foundation. Even though Lifelight requested $750, townspeople have been supportive of $1,000 for a number of years, and they didn't really feel like putting $750. So this is probably also another good spot to highlight that in a couple of weeks when you have your meeting, excuse me, to make your recommendations, what says Bud Committee or Budcom, Recom, a column will fill in after you've made your recommendations what your numbers are as a group, and then ultimately that will go on the town meeting warrant.
And are we gonna be discussing that, provider agencies tonight, or is that gonna be, it is tonight?
I believe that's on your agenda.
That's what I thought,
If
yeah.
I don't talk you to death first.
Yeah.
Number 4. Well, right after this.
You can do it right now if you want. I'll give you a break from talking. Page 24 is the capital improvement program, and where we anticipate spending some larger funds for the coming year. The only change the Board of Selectmen made here, after considerable discussion and debate, I think to say, is under harbor improvements. There was a request for $35,000 to rewire the pier. We patched it together about as many times as we can patch it together. And the selectmen said, no, we won't ask the taxpayers for that. We're going to take that from harbor savings. We have what's called a harbor savings account. So if we collect, we charge user fees for the facility, and we get donations from at least the town of Hallsborough. Any monies that aren't expended during the fiscal year that remain in the harbor account, or donations or fees above what we budget to reduce taxes, goes into harbor savings. And they thought that was an appropriate use of those funds for a harbor project. Oops, and now I'm getting, what are you pointing to?
35 to 25.
Oh yeah, thanks. I didn't highlight one in my own book. Kayla pointed out, down on bandstand, the board also decided to reduce the request from $35,000 to $25,000. The $10,000 reduction was to not stain the bandstand this year, focus on the roof, and then if it needs to be stained, come on back next year and make another request.
So the 25,000 is for the roof for the bandstand?
Yes. Any questions on the capital improvement program? I will note for you that that is up substantially from the previous couple of years. And the primary reason for that is because the last couple of years they cut that pretty hard, not knowing where we were all headed. And that gave us 3 years worth of stuff. You know, you can cut something 2 years ago, and then last year we had 2 years worth of requests, and they cut it, reduced again, back to some of the, what was deemed more essential. And then, so when we started this year, we had 3 years worth of requests, and next year, if we cut it again this year, we'd be 4 years worth of requests, and so the board chose not to.
Dave,
Yeah, John.
on page 24.
Yeah.
On the road improvement.
Yes.
Yeah, so I remember maybe 2 years ago or so, Duck Trap Road was supposed to be paved, is that right?
Yep.
And then the paver didn't ever make it, they never came, and then,
Well, Duck Trap Road is in this year's budget. We,
Okay.
actually, the board just awarded the contract for that Monday night.
oh.
So
okay.
that's going to be done between now and the end of June.
Okay,
We've done a little bit of a change in terms of paving. As with all of this budget stuff, the budget year starts July 1 and goes through June 30 of the next year. And what we were finding is if we waited to July 1 till we had the money to go try to find a paver, we were either paying a premium or we were at the end of their list, which meant we were fighting weather in the fall. Paving, you're most successful with paving if you're putting it down when the weather is warm and not fighting cold.
yeah,
That's why they call it hot top, because it goes down hot.
yeah.
So this past year, with the public facilities director coming on board, rather than racing to try to get it in the fall last year, we made the conscious choice to get him on board, or that person on board, turns out it's him, and then get it out to bid in the winter when contractors are hungry, hopefully, and have a full schedule to fill. And so we bid that out went out to bid in February. We got the prices back a couple weeks ago, and the board awarded it last night.
Who's gonna do it?
Hagar Enterprises is the chosen contractor. I think we had 5, or what turn was it, 6 bidders? We had 5 or 6 bidders. They were the low bid. They've worked with us before. So
Yeah.
where that's gonna hopefully be our plan as we move forward, is to bid it out in the winter when people are hungry. We actually had some contractors tell us that they weren't gonna bid because they didn't finish all their work from last year and some of their clients, so they were, booked
Yeah.
for this
Well,
year.
Just as an aside, Crowley Road where I live,
Yeah.
there's 12 lot owners
Mhm.
there, and we gotta fix that road, and we're having trouble getting Tabor Steve to come look at it.
Yep.
We have like 3 bids now.
Yep.
We're looking at 65,000 to 135,000 for 12 houses. We wish the town would take Crowley Road over, but I know they'd rather get rid of roads than take them up, I know that.
Well, yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's all.
If you wanna know who our contractor is, and a contact number there,
Yeah,
shoot me an email and I'll shoot you his contact information back.
Okay, all right, yeah, maybe I'll do that.
Yep. Anyone else with capital improvements? Turn the page to 25, debt service. Yep. It's gonna be debt service until it's not. When we borrowed money, we pledged our full faith and credit to pay it back, so that's debt service. And we, a couple of years ago, agreed to take on some of the Lincolnville Sewer District's debt service, so we have our first payment on this year too. Which takes us to page 26. A couple of big changes on page 26, which is our revenues, which is in our favor. These are revenues beyond property taxes that are listed in the middle third of the page there, boat excise, vehicle excise. The changes proposed are to fund balance from 600,000 to 750,400. We have some one-time revenues that came into the town or are anticipated to come into the town in the next fiscal year. Since we had some one-time expenditures that we were trying to get caught up on in capital improvements, one time in, one time out versus asking taxpayers to fund it on an annual basis. And then municipal revenue sharing had been the request, or the anticipated was $228,631. The state of Maine treasurer just came out on the 17th of March with the projections for the coming year, and Lincolnville is projected to receive $293,366. So if you add up all the changes the selectmen made in the first 25 pages and these two changes to revenue on page 26, and do the math, you come up with $195 left to the property taxpayer, which once again is $4,840 more than the current year.
Did you say 889? No, 891.
891, sorry.
Okay.
I don't know what I said, but I should have said 891, 195.
Okay.
And that was about as quick as I could run through that, and
That was very quick.
I am happy to answer any questions or get them for you.
I have one question about the American Rescue Plan. We have a lot of things on here that say may be funded by
Yep.
that.
Yep.
When do those get put in, and when do you know if they fund? And if they do, does that take away from what we're responsible for in the budget?
Yeah, great questions. When the budget was first put together, for anybody that doesn't know, let's back up to the very beginning. American Rescue Plan Act monies are federal monies that flowed to, in Lincolnville's case, what's called the non-entitlement unit, NEU, yeah, non-entitlement unit. Came to the state distributed them to us. It's based on population. Lincolnville, we have received from the federal government a little bit more than $117,550. We anticipate receiving that same amount in this coming year. It's not in hand as yet, but the first 117 plus is in hand. When the budget was put together, only the interim rules had been issued by the Department of Treasury, which were rather restrictive on what we could use that monies for. That's why throughout the budget you see possible ARPA eligible. Since the budget was put together, the Department of Treasury has come out with a final rule, which, believe it or not, made it easier or less restrictive. Now, I won't say none of this is easy because there's a lot of paperwork behind it, but less restrictive on how we can utilize those funds. So everything that is identified in the budget rate currently as possible ARPA, I would say easily qualifies for the program as it exists. If you note on page 26, near the last line on that page says American Rescue Plan Act with an asterisk, $117,550. And then the asterisk goes down to say only available if ARPA eligible projects are identified. Those have been identified successfully, I believe, and the selectmen have chose to include in the budget $117,550 to reduce that.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks.
Oh, you're welcome. That's a great question. If you'd like to become an expert in the American Rescue Plan
I
Act,
actually would not.
I was going to say I could send you the couple hundred pages of the final rule. It's a cure for insomnia, but I don't have that problem. So. No, it's a very it's very fortuitous for the town that money's flowing to us. Once again, because the last couple of years we've had capital things that really I think the community would like to have and express desires to have, but we weren't able, I won't say we weren't able to fund, but we chose not to ask the people to fund it. So with one-time monies coming in to address one-time needs, you know, there's a good balance there. And so it couldn't all go to the Dave Kinney Retirement Fund. That's one of the things that's prohibited in the final rule.
What about finance director?
Yeah, that's
No.
yeah, that's prohibited too. Nice try. With that, if there's no more questions, just so you know, I think, well, you're gonna talk about future schedule, but at some point you're going to have another meeting where you actually make your recommendations on this budget in the schools committees. At that meeting, I'll have a draft of the town meeting warrant. So it'll say, you know, Article 10 to see what sum, if any, the town will vote to raise and appropriate for public works. And then it'll have Board of Selectmen recommends $1 million something, and then it'll have Budget Committee recommends and a blank. And we'll have those blanks identified for you, so you'll be able to say, we recommend whatever number you want, and we'll fill this budget in, and then ultimately, you'll get a similar thing from the school, for the school warrant. And ultimately, those will go to the Board of Selectmen. The Board of Selectmen will sign those. They'll be posted as per the state statute, and then everybody will gather in June to vote on it and make your, you know, choices out there, so. I'll just sit quietly now.
So now we're on to the provider agency.
Not a lot of change as it looks like. The only change is the pet, pet food pantry, right? The rest of all the things you've seen before.
I see that the Red Cross submitted, but nothing was given, or they didn't submit it this year.
It's been an ongoing problem with the Red Cross.
Kayla, do you have another one of those?
Don't, but I can.
You can look at mine if you like. Oh. There we go.
Together.
Just don't do it, right?
So if you want me to kind of give you a little tidbit on each one that I had spoken with, the American Red Cross called, when I told them they would have to do the petition again, they said they didn't have the ability to do that, and that they weren't gonna submit anything.
As always.
So, Belfast Area Children's Center requested the same 500, they got everything in. Camden Area District Nursing called me about a week after the packet was due, saying, oops, we didn't get it into you. Habitat for Humanity, I didn't hear from them. New Hope Mid-Coast got theirs in, got everything completed that they needed to, which used to be New Hope for Women. Spectrum Generations, again, called about a month or so after the packet was due and said, oops, they, I guess, thought they had sent it in, but nobody had actually done it. They did send it in a couple months late, but I've been told to pass on to provide anything that would meet the requirements, so. The Lifelight Foundation got all of their packet in for the $750. Waldo Community Action Partners got their packet in and everything. They primarily go off a percentage of what they have helped in the community. So I know they got a lot of COVID funds, which I'm guessing they helped more in the community than the previous year, which is why their request went up. Waldo County YMCA didn't submit anything. Waldo County Pet Food Pantry did provide their petition, and they are a new organization. And Hospice Volunteers of Waldo County didn't provide their packet, so.
You said did?
They did provide, yes.
Yes, that's what I thought.
You know, I know we've been pretty strict about the submissions, I guess with, you know, with Spectrum Generations and Camden Area District Nursing, based on, you know, our history with them and the fact that, you know, but there's been a lot of oopsing in the last, you know, couple of years, been pretty crazy. I mean, you know, not that we're proposing anything now, but just the entertaining the idea of putting in $1 so they don't have to you know, they can, would that change their thing for next year? Will they have to do a whole new packet if they weren't funded this year? Is that how that works?
They would need to do a petition. If they're not funded this year, I have to look at the exact word.
Because we were funding Camden District Nursing $1 for years.
Yeah.
Because they didn't need the money, and just to kind of keep them on our list.
We can make a motion.
I mean, I'm not sure we're voting on that today. I'm just sort of more discussing. Maybe we want to vote on this today, right?
Well, no, but I think if we wanted to
Yeah.
consider giving them money, we'd want to make a motion and then discuss it.
Right.
Is that,
Well, it's only for voting on it tonight.
We'll wait till we make our recommendations, or?
Yeah,
Yeah,
usually
when-
if we think of questions, do we make a recommendation tonight, which you could certainly, or do we do it when you do the recommendation of the entire budget?
Yeah.
We always did it early because we did it before the select board. The select board had already made the recommendations. We could do it, it seems we could do it tonight, or we could do it when we vote on the whole budget in 2 weeks. I don't care. I'm just more discussing, like,
Yeah.
I just feel that these two agencies, like, the Red Cross, I'm done with them because they've been playing this for years and years. But these guys always submit, and we've always funded them, and they're, you know, they've always done pretty good
Say again
services.
which two?
Spectrum Generations and Camden Area District Nursing.
Okay.
I mean, they're both, you know, really reputable. They serve the town a lot. And I know for years, Camden Area District Nursing never asked us for money because they had enough money. They'd received a big request, so we were funding them for the $1 for like almost as long as I've been on the budget committee. So I just, you know, I sort of feel like it's not like this is the first time this happened since I've been on this board.
Well, I guess I also wonder if we're not giving those funds, the Waldo County Pet thing didn't do a submission, but we have 250 going
They
to
did
them.
do a submission. It's right here.
Last year they did a session.
Last
Yeah.
year they
Yeah, and actually this submission, I was just reading it over, because this one I guess I did look at, and it said that they've served 27 people in the town of Lincolnville, and it's $250, and I mean, for me, you know, we can discuss further, but I just, having worked with people with pretty high needs, you know, pets are really important, and pet food and spaying and neutering, that kind of stuff can get really expensive, so the idea that there's a service out there which is all volunteer, which providing these things and working in concert with PAWS, seems like a pretty
Yeah.
important thing. $250 if they're serving that many people in this town seems like a small price.
Yeah, she, actually, she runs her pet food pantry out of the BFW in Belfast, and she's been doing it for a lot of years.
And no restaurant money.
And, right, and she does a lot of fundraising on her own, and she does a lot of spay and neuter clinics, she does a lot of rabies clinics. People donate food, she does, you know, a lot to, you know, and it started from just nothing, and she has worked her way up to provide more and more for people. In fact, I've helped her a couple of times with spay and neuter clinics, so.
And it looks like she's asked on every town in Waldo County, asking for
Right.
the same amount.
Right, but it does provide food to keep pets and rabies shots and
Yep.
spay and neuter to keep pets in homes with people who can't, to keep them out of the shelter,
Sure.
so, yeah.
So I was looking at these forms here that we got, these proposals, and so I was looking down at, like, let's just take Belfast area childcare services, okay? So they have a lot of information here, and one, I think I saw they served 3 people in Lincolnville, and they're not qualifying how they serve them. So some things, some services are probably way more important than others, but they said 3. So I wrote down 3, and then they said they did 106 or something. So Lincolnville is 2.8% of their services goes to Lincolnville. But the budget is 5.7%. So we're paying 5.7%, but we're getting 2.8% back in this way of looking at it. And again, I'm just saying these are the numbers that we can keep in our mind, and there's a whole lot more that we have to do to judge these services for what they're good for. So I can go quick through what I came up with. So Belfast area child care services, we're paying, Lincolnville is paying 2 times more than what it gets back in the terms I just explained for what that's worth, okay?
I was just caught that would be this year. We have no historical data to say, last year we could have gotten 4 times the value.
Yeah, I just looked at the most recent data where they could say, yeah. So this is very rough, but still. New Hope, Mid-Coast, formerly New Hope for Women, which I support very strongly. But that looked like a 13-fold excess we're paying. So that's just the number, but again, there's all these other qualifications. Life Flight I didn't even do, I just think it's a great thing. Just support it, you never know when you're gonna need that thing. And then Waldo Community Action Partners, we're only paying half of the services we get back. So we're getting a good deal from them in these really coarse terms. And so on. So that's a way to look at it anyway. So we'll get around to making our recommendations at some point, and we can think about that some more.
Is there anybody that you want to meet with this year, or?
I want to call Reed and ask what we think about the childcare one, because I know we met with them one year, I think.
The Waldo County Community, or
Yeah, I think that was a reason. Have we funded them in past years?
you mean Belfast Area Children's?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, that one you have,
It's been there a couple of years, and my guess is you met with them the first.
We
year.
definitely, I
Yes.
remember meeting with them, but my brain switched these days, so.
yeah, it was the first year, it looks like it was the 2018, 2019 year.
Oh, pre-pandemic, forget it, I don't remember anything before.
I actually have a question. You were saying that on some of these, like the Camden area nursing and the Spectrum's generation, ones that didn't submit, that we might consider giving them money. Now, some of them, I can understand maybe doing that with the one who got it in late,
Mm-hmm.
but somebody who just completely neglected to send it in,
Like the Red Cross,
right?
but
Yeah.
you said both of them, like they thought it had submitted, they had prepared it, wasn't that? Was
Well,
that
Spectrum Generations, thought they had, somebody had submitted it but hadn't, and then they got it into me late. Camden Area District Nursing had at least called and talked to me about it, and I had said,
It's late, not
deadlines
taking it.
passed.
Yeah,
So they didn't do one anyway at that point.
right.
But yeah, American Red Cross told me that because it would require a petition, they can't do that.
And they've done it for years, they've been
And then,
notified of
yeah,
this.
the Habitat for Humanity, they didn't send in any, right?
No.
And then the other one would be Waldo County YMCA, and they did not either.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Are you suggesting giving them just a token amount of money?
that was sort of my thought, keep them on the roll.
That's what I was.
Because we were doing that for district nursing for years, and again,
Right.
these are, it's not like Red Cross, which, as we funded them in the past, when they continue to do this, I feel like they've never done this before, and they did at least make an effort.
If you
even
give them
so
the token money, they don't have to at least petition.
I think that was the plan, but
Yeah.
again, this is.
Yeah.
I like the idea, it's $1.
Yeah. It's a token amount, it's just saying we're keeping our rolls, we do expect you to, next time, it's due in time.
Great, yep.
And
So-
I'll pull the policy, so we can look at exactly the wording
Perfect.
of it in regards to the application that I send out to them.
So just to satisfy my curiosity on the Life Flight Foundation, great cause, I'm good with it. Seems like they request $750 every year, but we always give them $1,000. Is that the norm?
Yes.
This is a custom now.
Okay. I thought maybe there was a typo there, but it looks like that's been the norm over the last few
They
years.
haven't figured it out yet.
Maybe they figure if they ask for 1,000, we'll give them
Give
750.
us-
So procedurally, do we decide on numbers on the 14th of these?
I think so. I mean, we can do either
You
way.
can, this is your call as budget committee, you could decide right now, you can decide on the 14th, but at some point relatively soon, like the next couple of weeks, we need to know what your recommendation is so we can plug it into the warrant.
Do you want to go down through these?
I'm thinking yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because next week we've got to listen
Yep.
to the school, and the
Yeah.
14th, we have to make all the rest of the decisions, so.
I don't think there's gonna be any major
Yeah,
discussions
let's get
on
that
these,
away.
so.
So American Red Cross, anyone want to make a motion on how to deal with them? Or do we
Well,
need it?
we don't have to, it's not on there, right?
No, they're not in there.
Okay, so we don't have to have a motion to agree not to do anything. How about Belfast Area Child Services?
I move we fund the amount of 500.
Second?
Wait a minute.
This is the important part of your job.
I know, it's like, so just let me get these things typed, okay. Okay,
Is there any discussion on that? Seeing none, let's vote. All in favor of $500 for Belfast Area Child Care Services? Any opposed? And next up is Camden Area District Nursing.
I move we
$1.
fund.
What?
Oh, yeah, $1.
Yeah.
Yeah, I move we fund.
Do we have two? Do we have two?
Now, is that $2, one for each, or is that?
Second.
this is just Camden area district
Yes.
nursing,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And it was, okay.
Any discussion on Camden Area District Nursing? All in favor of giving them $1 to keep them on our list? Any opposed?
Maybe we send a letter with it. Do your paperwork next time, you're not getting a buck.
Well, it's the first time they've not sent paperwork on that, right?
Yeah, it is the first time.
And
Well, since I've been here.
what happened with the Red Cross? They didn't call or do anything, right?
No, Red Cross called and told me that they couldn't do it.
They've done that several times, haven't they, over the years? And sometimes we
Well,
fund them
and-
anyway.
A couple of years ago, the 2021 year, Dottie actually went and did the petition for them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And got the signatures, and then the next year they didn't submit it again, so.
Okay, so we're not gonna give them $1.
I
Okay.
don't, I mean, we could propose it.
They're already passed though.
Oh, are they?
If they go again, they'd have,
Yeah.
even if we give them $1, they still have to
Oh, I see.
do a
Okay.
petition.
Okay.
So New Hope Midcoast?
What about Habitat for Humanity? I don't
No
have-
submission.
No
There's no
submission.
Oh, that was a no, sorry, didn't see that.
I move we recommend an amount of $1,500.
I'll second.
Is there any discussion on, we won't give those?
Just say that one of the agencies that no one wants to need, but they're really good to have there.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. All in favor of giving them 1,500? Any opposed? Spectrum Generations.
They were late, right?
I move that we give them an amount of $1.
I'll second.
Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor of giving Spectrum Generations $1? Any opposed? Lifelike Foundation of Maine.
I move we fund Lifelight Foundation of Maine in the sum of $1,000.
Second.
Is there discussion?
Another one of those organizations that no one wants to need, but we're really glad that they're there.
Exactly. All those in favor of funding them $1,000? And no opposed. Waldo Community Action Partners. Request of $36.84.
I move that we recommend the amount of $3,684.
I'll second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none? All those in favor? And Waldo County Pet Food Pantry.
I move we fund Waldo County Pet Food Pantry in the sum of $250.
Second.
Any discussion?
We had a good discussion earlier about it, so
We did.
yeah, appreciate that.
All those in favor? And finally, Hospice Volunteers of Waldo County.
Move that we fund them in the amount of $400.
Second.
Is there discussion on that? Another organization you never want to use, but they are
Skippy.
angels on earth when we need them.
Yeah, they're actually good. We get a good deal from them. We're not paying our share. They give us more than we give them, so.
That's a
I
different
I wish we
one.
weren't getting that much from.
Yeah, it's not.
There's a place for stats, a place for
I wish we didn't
stats.
need that much from it.
So, any other discussion? Let's vote on that one. All those in favor? And that's unanimous. So that takes care of the provider agency packet. And we have the budget schedule. So our next meeting is Thursday, the 7th at 6.
Yes,
If you have a quorum.
right.
I may be a few
I'm
minutes, no, I will be a few minutes late, might be as much as 20 minutes, half hour.
Okay.
But
We will not
we
be
vote
here.
anything there?
We will not be in the state, unfortunately.
Fortunately, actually.
Fortunately, yes.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, so I think John, Robin, you said you can make it. You can? So you, Jude, are you able to make?
Yes.
Okay,
We'll go to Audi.
and Dottie said that she could.
Because I have a 6 o'clock meeting. They not present it if there's not a quorum here? I mean, 5 o'clock meeting, sorry, that she may
Well,
schedule for an hour.
It
but-
is the school budget and,
It's, well, this is a budget committee meeting, and the budget committee can't meet without a quorum.
Right.
Right.
So, well, John said he'd be here.
yeah, so we
Steve
have,
would be here.
yeah.
Robin's here. Dottie's here. Jude's here. That makes 5.
I probably have to leave though at 7.
Well,
Well, I'll be
Ed's gonna be here
I'll
by
be here.
6:30, so.
I may be here, I'm gonna work with you there.
You'll count as one.
It's, there's still a high stakes meeting going on at 5 that I don't wanna not be there for,
That means you have
so,
to
work
fill out
related.
the minutes.
Nope. I did that. Years I did that.
All right.
Sounds like you'll have a quorum, so if you're satisfied that, otherwise you're gonna have to find another day, which may be challenges in the
Yeah.
next 2
And,
weeks.
and if something does, like someone can't be there, and you guys know, text me or send me an email or send me an email and just say, we really need to hear it out, and say, I gotta bow out at 10 or 5 of.
Yeah, I can't be here on Thursday the 14th, but that's that public hearing.
That one, yeah, Lori and Jerry are gonna be back, so I think we
Probably gonna
have,
vote on that
let's
one,
see,
but-
yeah. So I think we have enough for the 14th, there was only like 1 or 2 people that couldn't make it on that one. I was more worried about the 7th, I figured we didn't have just enough, but then if we could find a time when, make it better. But-
Doing a great job as chair.
Oh, thanks.
You're welcome.
So we're done with, the schedule.
Yeah.
Move we adjourn this meeting.
I move, so moved.
What about, is there new business, is there anything else?
There's nothing else on the agenda.
So the next one is the school budget, right?
Yes.
So, you know, in favor?
Yeah.
We got a motion and movement?
Who motioned? You motioned.
Yeah.
Second.
And
All those in favor?
Nice work.
I'll make it a 7.
I don't know why this is, these